Back to the channel. Welcome back to Game Time Astrology. I'm your host, Q. Let me just take a minute real quick to share this live stream so I can get some people to come to the live and check it out. All right, give me just 1 second. When you're producing your own show, it is definitely interesting. And I'm gonna put it on my other channel. And then we're gonna go ahead and get started. Here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. This is going to be a real fun one, guys. So if you don't know, unfortunately, Jayson Tatum tore his Achilles, and I want to talk about some of the things that I see in his natal chart. And the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because when I thought about Jayson Tatum, I remember that he was like in his mid-20s. And I was like, well, he should be coming up on his Saturn return very soon since Saturn is about to ingress into Aries. And lo and behold, as you can see here in the 10th house, Jayson Tatum has his Saturn in the sign of Aries. Okay, so this is pretty interesting stuff here. And we're going to kind of talk about why this injury happened, how it happened, what planetary alignments caused it to happen, and what is it going to look like for him for the foreseeable future of this injury. Okay, so please like the video. Also, you can donate to the channel. I'm going to put the Cash App in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So if you like what you're hearing, you can donate to the channel at Cash App, which is Game Time Astrology. All right, pin the message, and we're off. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right on in here. So Jayson Tatum, he tore his Achilles, and according to medical astrology, so every single zodiac sign rules a body part, and we use these body parts in medical astrology. So the Achilles tear is a classic Achilles ruled energy. I'm sorry, I said Achilles rule. I mean Aquarius ruled energy. That was a bit of a tongue twister. So the Achilles tear is a classic Aquarius ruled energy. Aquarius rules the Achilles and the ankles. Okay? Again, I'm going to say that again. Aquarius rules the Achilles and the ankles. Remember 2 years ago when Jayson Tatum had that ankle injury in the playoffs as well, and then he also had a, ankle injury last season, this season. I mean, there's always something with this guy's ankles, and the reason why that is because, as you can see in his 8th house, he does have 2 placements in the sign of Aquarius, one which of being Uranus and the other one is Neptune. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that as well in this episode, and I'm going to show you the transit chart, where the planets are and how they're aspecting his natal planets at this time. So Aquarius rules the Achilles tendon, and as you guys know, I think he tore his Achilles, not ruptured it. I think he tore it. So in medical astrology, Aquarius governs circulation, ankles, calves, and the Achilles tendon. And Uranus, which is the modern ruler of Aquarius, brings sudden ruptures, shocks, and unexpected injuries. Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius and can indicate chronic weakness, structural breakdown, or slow healing injuries in these areas, which again are ankles, calves, Achilles tendons, and general circulation in those areas. Okay. Now, when it comes to Jayson Tatum's natal chart and the key transits during this injury, I'm going to switch to that chart real quick so you guys can kind of see that. All right, so the outer wheel, if you guys see the planets on the outer wheel, those are the transiting planets, and the inner wheel are Jayson Tatum's natal planets. I was able to find an 8:00 p.m. birth time on Google for Jayson Tatum. He was born March the 3rd of 1998. So I decided to go ahead and use March the 3rd, 1998. So let's start with the natal placements in Aquarius. Okay, so this is where his Achilles weakness problem resides. Okay, so Neptune in Aquarius, you know, he was born in 1998, so he would have Neptune in Aquarius, and this can indicate idealization, because that's Neptune, idealizing, fantasizing. So it can indicate the idealization of physical limits, deceptive weakness, or vulnerability in Aquarius ruled areas. So his ankles, his Achilles, his calves, these are all vulnerable areas on Jayson Tatum's person. Okay. Now, Uranus in Aquarius is the generation from 1996 to 2003. And so people born between those years, 1996 and 2003, they will have unpredictable sudden injuries, or may have unpredictable or sudden injuries in ankles and Achilles tendons. So if you're born in that, you know, in those time periods, just be mindful. If you play any kind of sports or you lift weights, whatever the case may be, okay, anything physical where you run, where you have to run. So let's move on now to the transits. We talked about the natal placement, about the Achilles. So let's move on now to the transits that I noticed and the things that really stuck out to me. As you guys can see on the outer wheel, the Pluto planet in the 8th house. Okay, so the Pluto planet in the 8th house is basically symbolizing demolition and transformation energy, which is in a conjunction to his natal Uranus. So Pluto is at 3 degrees retrograde right now, and Uranus is at 10 degrees Aquarius in his natal chart. So that's about what, a 7-degree orb or so, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 7-degree orb. So that's a pretty decent orb. The rule of thumb that I like to use is 6 degrees, but 7 is just 1 degree up. So I mean, it's a pretty strong conjunction and indicator of the transformation of his Achilles and this sudden injury that he suffered in, I believe it was game 5, because they lost game 6. So in game 5, right? So Pluto's transformation hitting his Uranus, which is the sudden injury point, plus Neptune, which is the vulnerability point, in his Achilles, which is ruled by Aquarius, this would symbolize a high risk and shocking transformative injury in the area of the Achilles. Okay, so, oh no. Okay, I don't even know if you guys could hear me that whole time. Let me see. Oh, no. So you guys can kind of see that. Oh, you were. Okay, great. Okay, for a minute there, I thought I was recording and you could not hear me. Okay, I don't even know if you guys could to hear me that whole time. Let me see. So you guys see that? Oh, you were. Okay, great. Okay, all right. Whew, that was a close one. Anyway, let me go ahead and continue, guys, because I looked down at my microphone and it was off, but somehow my iPad picked up the sound. So hallelujah. All right, let's go ahead and continue now. So Pluto's transit in the sign of Aquarius can also indicate surgery, because Pluto represents regeneration through crisis. All right. The third key indicator here is we have transit Saturn right now in the sign of Pisces, in a conjunction, in an exact conjunction at that, to his natal Mars in Pisces. Okay. And so what this indicates is, Saturn is restriction. When it comes to body parts, Saturn, Capricorn energy, rules bones and tendons. And Mars rules action and physicality. In Pisces, Pisces rules the feet, the lymphatic system. And so with Saturn in an exact conjunction to his Mars in Pisces, this would indicate a forced slowdown or a structural failure in that tendon, in that Achilles tendon. Okay. Pisces, like I said, rules the feet. And so the Achilles connects the calf to the heel. So this would fit in this regard. The fourth key indicator would be he's about to go through his Saturn return in Aries. So anyone who was born in 1998, so Saturn and Aries people are from April 1996 to June 1998. You guys are about to go through your Saturn return. Okay, congratulations. Buckle up, Buttercup. So Aries rules the head, adrenaline and aggression. And so I feel that Tatum may have been pushing too hard physically during this time. And this is actually pretty common when it comes to athletes, when it comes to sports figures like that. Pushing too hard physically. So, pro athletes usually do. And, they play 82 games a season. And then now you go to the playoffs and you're playing up to like 100, I don't know, up to like 90 something games. And his Saturn return in Aries can bring hard lessons around physical limits at this time, often through injury. And that's what he's going through right now. These lessons around his limits. And Aries also rules the body, the physical body, right? So Saturn in Aries is likely going to put some limitations on his physical body, as we see what he's going through right now. Okay. And so why the Achilles? And what is the timing and the triggering of this incident? Well, Aquarius, like I said, was under siege by Pluto, because Pluto is in Aquarius, is in retrograde, plus his natal Uranus and natal Neptune, also in the same sign of Aquarius. This equals the structural breakdown potential of his Achilles. And then we have Saturn in Pisces, which is representing restriction, to his natal Mars, which represents physical drive. And this is like him being forced to rest now. Because like Saturn on Mars, like Mars is like, okay, I'm driving. And then Saturn is like, whoa, 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 slow down. Right. So this is kind of like he can't take action right now. He can't get on the court. He can't run, none of that. Your Achilles is very essential to even like walking. So it's like Saturn is like, slowing him down, and therefore he's being forced to rest. All right. And then transit Mars. Let me take a look at transit Mars real quick. Mars is in Leo in that second house. And I don't really see anything too tough with that. Let me go and give it a look a little bit further here. I see that Mars was squaring his Chiron, or I should say is squaring his Chiron, and it was squaring his Chiron at the time of the injury. And he has Chiron in the sign of Scorpio in the 5th house of games and speculations. So that also makes sense too, where it's like Mars is the drive and Chiron is like, the wounded healer. So kind of having to take a step back and like also sit it on down, unfortunately. All right. So with transit Mars in Leo making a hard aspect to his Chiron, this also speaks to the timing of this energy, with the 5th house ruling, sports and games and speculation, playing in a game, right? And accelerating that rupture of the Achilles. And, we have similar cases in sports astrology where we talk about Kobe Bryant's Achilles tear in 2013, which happened during Saturn and Scorpio. So, like I said, Scorpio is also ruling tendons as well. Okay, so I'm sorry, Saturn is ruling tendons as well. Okay. And with Kobe Bryant, Saturn was in Scorpio, and then it was opposing his natal Mars in Taurus, which rules physical stability. Mars in Taurus is physical stability. Mars is physical, Taurus is stability. Okay. And then when Kevin Durant ruptured his Achilles in 2019, this occurred during Saturn conjunct his South Node in Capricorn. In Capricorn, Saturn energy rules joints and bones. Okay. So Tatum's injury was definitely karmically timed with the Pluto, Uranus, Neptune demolition in the Achilles ruled by Aquarius, compounded by Saturn crushing his Mars, which rules physicality. And so this is forcing him to transform his approach to longevity, Saturn, with him about to go through his Saturn return, his approach to, you know, body, because Aries rules the physical body. So in terms of his recovery, Saturn and Aries, Saturn is going to go ingress into Aries on May the 25th. Sometimes I speak too fast, guys, because I be wanting to get stuff out, so pardon me. Sip some water. So with Saturn literally about to ingress into Aries in a couple days, Saturn is forcing him to slow down, and it's also going to give him a disciplined rehab. He will recover, of course, but he's going to have to be cautious on when he comes back, because Aries has the tendency to be very impulsive and just kind of like jump out there and just like, yeah, let's go. And it's like, no, Saturn wants you to slow it on down, slow that physical body on down. Just be mindful and be more wise and responsible with movement. That's what Jayson Tatum is going to have to do when it comes to coming back. Just be cautious. The other thing too with Pluto and Aquarius, which is, Pluto ingressed into Aquarius in 2024, last year, and it will be there all the way until the year of 2044. And so I really feel like this is actually going to be pretty good for Jayson Tatum, because I feel like there's going to be some regenerative treatments for his Achilles that could surface, some new techniques like new stem cell treatments, advanced technology, and regenerating the tendons and things like that. So those things are going to actually work to his favor and really help him out in a major way. But I want to stress for him, like, he just needs to take the full recovery and not be impulsive with the recovery, because he's set to be out for about 9 months. So he won't be back until like next year around like February or March. If he comes back any sooner than that, it could be a real like problem for him, to be quite honest. And I don't think that, he should do that. He shouldn't take any chances. And that's the thing too. Like I said, those of you who have Saturn and Aries and you're about to go through your Saturn returns right now, you have to be mindful of your body and your movements. And it's just gonna really mature you as a person, really. Saturn and Aries people, you're gonna go through a maturation process. Neptune is there as well, so that's gonna be quite interesting for those of you who have Saturn in the first 5 degrees, Saturn and Aries in the first 5 degrees natally. That's going to be pretty interesting. So there's that. So let's talk a little bit more about like some hidden contributors to what's going on with him, as well as like some preventative astrology that could have been spotted earlier as well. So let me start with that actually, because I did mention that he always had like ankle injury problems. I remember the year that they didn't win, the year before that, I think it was in 2023, when he was going through his solar return, his 2023 solar return. There were some clues going on here. So with his solar return, let me just make sure I get this correct. How I want to say this. Okay, so with Saturn and Pisces in a solar 6th house, this would signify in his solar return chart in 2023 of like chronic wear and tear of the ankles, of the tendons, right? Of the feet. Pisces rules the feet, right? Isn't it so interesting how Saturn and Pisces, is in an exact conjunction to his Mars in Pisces, and like Pisces rules the feet in medical astrology, right? So that's like the main thing that I wanted to say there is like the solar return chart for 2023 is like the most preventative astrology point that I could like really think of right now, that this could have been spotted earlier. And what I'm trying to get at here is like, when you are like when you're an athlete, I think that like the way that you train and the way that you weight lift and stuff like that, if he would have knew this, that to be mindful of wear and tear in the ankles and the feet and the tendons, he could have avoided this by doing different strength techniques to strengthen those tendons in the ankles and stuff like that. Now, I'm no personal trainer or anything. I mean, I played basketball, so I don't know how one could strengthen the ankles, but if there was more of a focus there, the tear karmically happened. It was, going to happen, but it probably wouldn't have been as bad. It could have been like a little tweak, but it was so weak in this instance, and it wasn't spotted earlier, and this is why it kind of occurred like this, right? So in terms of re-injury risk, I would definitely say with Neptune and Aries squaring his natal Neptune, it's going to be squaring his natal Neptune around like from like 2026 to 2039, squaring his Uranus, when it gets like in later times. I feel like later on down the road, he's going to have to watch for a lingering weakness or misjudged like comebacks, because that's the thing, like it all goes back to his Saturn and Aries placement. You can't rush a comeback. You have to really take care of your body. Saturn and Aries wants you to take care of your body, take care of your vessel, and take care of yourself in a slow down, responsible manner, if that makes sense. Okay. Saturn in Pisces is going to be lingering through February of 2026. Again, guys, what I'm talking about is future recovery and re-injury risk. So Saturn in Pisces is going to be lingering throughout February 2026. So since Saturn will retrograde back over his natal Mars at this point, this is likely when he's returning, right? Like he's going to be out for 9 months. But that's why I keep saying when he returns in February, Saturn will be retrograding back over his natal Mars in Pisces. So he must avoid rushing his return because he could risk re-injuring his Achilles. It's a very high risk of that if he pushes too soon. So if I was him, okay, where are we at? We're in March. I'm sorry, we're in May. I was looking at his birth date. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. I mean, if I were him, just to be careful, I wouldn't come back until like March of 2026 instead of February, right? The third thing that I saw too when it comes to future recovery and re-injury risk with Pluto in Aquarius long term from now to 2044, this is going to redefine his physical peak. So definitely he may need to adjust his play style over the next couple years, like less explosive bursts, more strategic pacing with that Saturn and Aries that he has. What it's basically going to do with his Saturn return is just make him a more strategic player when it comes to how he moves, his movement of his body, because Aries rules the body. And also, too, Pluto in Aquarius is going to be working for him and multiple different other athletes as well, not just him, because I feel like we are going to, as a collective, adopt a whole new recovery portion of tech, of sports tech, sports recovery technology, like cryotherapy, hyperbaric oxygen. I mean, all these things are going to be going through massive, massive upgrades that can really help him and other athletes that are going to deal with injury. And the other thing I want to mention too, like, you guys, be prepared to see injuries, more injuries in the playoffs too. Don't be surprised if you see more injuries in the playoffs because Saturn is going to ingress into the sign of Aries. And do you guys understand that when Saturn was in Pisces, why the whole Hollywood strike happened? And the actor strike and all that, and how music was like really criticized? Well, now the same thing is going to happen to the sports world, not just the NBA, but the NFL as well, any sport. But since we're here in America, basketball is very popular, football is very popular. We are likely going to see, I'm calling it now, a lot more injuries. I mean, we've already been seeing them in the playoffs and even before that as well, because Saturn, I just kind of want to focus on like playoffs, because at the time the playoffs has been taking place, Saturn has been in Pisces at 28, 29 degrees. So the last 2 degrees of Pisces, right on the cusp of Saturn and Aries. And so that's why like these injuries like ramped up like that. It's the same thing is gonna likely happen in the WNBA. So people who are, you know, really like involved in sports, depending on how Saturn and Aries and other placements in the chart are being aspected, if they're getting hit hard with oppositions and squares, those particular athletes are going to need to be very mindful of injuries. And because of that, I feel like the NBA, the NFL, if injuries like really like pick up and ramp up, the reason why they're going to be under scrutiny, like the music industry was under scrutiny with Pisces, because Pisces rules music, right? And acting and television and cameras and Netflix and all that. The reason why they're going to be under scrutiny is because people are going to start looking at the trainers like, what are y'all doing? Like, why are these athletes getting injured? What kind of training are you guys doing? It's just a sign of the times, guys. It's just an energetic shift where Saturn is in Aries, where it's wanting us to really be responsible with how we move our bodies, what we're doing with our bodies, how we're showing up in the world as well. Not being too impulsive, because Saturn in Aries, I mean, Aries is impulsive, but Saturn is like, whoa, slow it down. Saturn is like got the reins on Aries, on the bull, sorry, on the ram, and it's like, wait a minute, slow down. And so, you know, I feel like strength and conditioning coaches in professional sports and high school or whatever the case may be, college, all that, they can also catch fire as well, while Saturn will be transiting through the sign of Aries. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we can even compare this to, you know, other athletes and stuff like that, like Zion Williamson, but I won't get too far into that. I'll just say recommendations for athletes to take preventative strengthening measures around this time, and just really avoid shortcuts when it comes to recovery if there are any injuries that may happen. Okay, and make sure that athletes are getting biofeedback training, okay, to kind of make sure that the body is in alignment and strong. So yeah, so it's 31 minutes. Wow, that one went on for a long time, but I hope you guys got a lot of good information out of that. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Also, if you would like to book a reading with me as an athlete or a regular person, doesn't matter, please check out my website, GameTimeAstrology.com. I will leave the link in the description box. And I will see you guys in the next analysis and the next episode of Game Time Astrology.